everyone, I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central. I'm here with Daniel Roebuck, who is playing Grandpa Munster in the upcoming Rob Zombie's upcoming The Munsters. You've seen him in so many things, including 5 of Rob Zombie's films and Final Destination. I am so excited to talk to you today. Hi, it's lovely to meet you.
How nice to be with you in this virtual thing. One day you must come join me in my little toy room here
Yeah.
in one of our houses here.
Tell me about what's going on behind you, this museum you
Yeah,
have
what is
behind
it?
you.
You sound just like my dad. Tell me about what's going on in your head. What's the matter with you? He gets it now, but he didn't then. So I've always loved and been obsessed with monsters since I was a little boy. The Munsters too, but I think there was something about when I realized that there were actors in movies that kind of got my head thinking. And then the makeup, I made myself up all the time as a child. It was a little daunting to my parents. You know, they'd be like, dinner, and I was like, my dad, can't he just eat like a normal child? I've been collecting on this stuff since I was a little boy. How we do, you know. I think it's interesting too now, isn't it? It's easier to be a collector. People don't go, what do you mean you collect toys? You're welcome for breaking that barrier for you and your ilk, Marianne. without the rest of us getting pushed around in 1967, we would have nothing today.
I always hear about that. Like, you know how easy you have it. I'm like, I know how easy. We have the internet, and it's cool to be a nerd now. It's cool to be obsessed.
It's so cool to be a nerd.
It is so cool to be a nerd now. Yeah. So we thank you. But so you loved the Munsters growing up. You had like a love for that show growing up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of extraordinary. When I was a little boy, I got my first tuxedo and cape. I was about 10 or 11. This is a little disturbing. Why would a 11-year-old boy need a cape? I don't know. There was something about Dracula, and I look back now, I think it was because the Frankenstein makeup was hard, the Wolfman makeup was hard, the Mummy makeup was hard. Dracula, you didn't need any makeup.
Yeah.
You just needed an outfit. So I've had a very odd life, like that movie Big Fish, where the kid doesn't believe dad's life, but that's my life. I was 12 years old and I was in a circus and I had to create a clown. I didn't have a clown character, so I created a funny vampire clown named the Count. I even had a business card. Count. Did magic shows. Crazy, weird. When Rob said, "Do you want to play the character?" He said, "I'm going to send you the script. The character is the Count." And I was driving, and I almost drove into a tree. Like, what? Crazy. So, you know, God is good, and those things that are in front of you when you're a child are really breadcrumbs to your adulthood. You just have to be a good little Hansel and Gretel and follow them to, you know, the point of it.
That's so wild that that is crazy to come full circle like that.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a time when I actually auditioned to be Herman in one of the TV movies. In fact, hold on. I found the stuff we keep around Casa de Roebuck. I actually found, I used to take pictures when I'd audition in weird costume. So that's how I walked into a Beverly Hills audition. Doing Herman. But isn't it interesting? Because I was never meant to be Herman. I was meant to be Grandpa. So, I mean, talk about dodging a bullet in the first place. No offense. The actor who played the part did a great job, but the movie was stinky. And now I'm in the movie, not some rotten TV movie. I'm in the greatest thing that could have come along.
You're in this movie, which is absolutely incredible. And you've worked with Zombie previously quite a few times.
I like that you call him Zombie. It's like when people say Spielberg. He prefers that I call him Mr. Zombie on the set. When I approach him, Mr. Zombie. The first time I met him, and that's why it's a joke, I was with a friend of mine named John Gilbert, who's a talented sculptor. And we were at a place called Kitcraft, which is kind of closed down in North Hollywood. And they used to have garage kits. And I'm talking 20 years ago, 23 years ago, 24 years ago. We're in the thing, and this man comes in with the beard and the hair. And my friend says, "Oh, Mr. Zombie, what an honor it is to meet you. And I say to John, what the hell did you just call this guy? And he goes, this is Rob Zombie. And I'm like, Zombie, nice to meet you. So I've called him Mr. Zombie ever since.
Oh, that's incredible. So, did you have to audition for the Munsters, or did he just call you and say you have the role?
As is a blessing of having done as much as I've done. There is a point in time when, you hit that critical mass and they just call you and say, be in something. This was one of those times. He knew me well enough to know how I would approach it, I think. The gratitude and energy I would bring to it.
Yeah.
I think I can't speak for him when he wants to talk about it. Say, yeah, I asked 12 other people. They all said no. So Roebuck was 13 list. I like to think I was number one on because frankly, I know I'm number one because who the hell would turn it down? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
very good
yeah.
point.
Exactly. Wait, hold on. It's Munsters and it's Rob Zombie. Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
You've got to work your way to the set on a steamer, crab fishing. Fine, whatever. I don't care. I'm grandpa, right? Okay, I don't
Yeah.
give a shit. Let's do it.
So you talked about how Mr. Zombie in first meeting
I like now you're
Mr. Zombie. But so how did you get kind of introduced to him? You were in the first film you were in with him was The Devil's Rejects, correct? Was that your
Yeah,
first film?
we have it. It's an interesting connection. So I met Rob that time, and then maybe 2 years, 3 years later, I went to an Elvira movie with a friend named Kevin Burns, who is the number one Munsters collector in the world, and who also, much to my horror, one of my dearest friends passed away a year ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Isn't it? It's terrible, and his stuff is being auctioned by Heritage now, and if your watchers, they have just a few days to go to Heritage auctions, they can see it. Kevin was my friend, but all collectors know where this stuff goes. It goes to other people when we move on to our greater glory, hopefully. So, you're not going to take it with you. And anyway, there's no room for it. I'm sure God's like, yeah, you can bring one wax figure, but we don't really have room. So I was with Kevin at this movie, and that's where I re-met Rob. So it's funny, the connection to Rob is always Munsters. Even that first day, John Gilbert went to his car and beat the poor guy out of money for Uncle Gilbert garage kit. It was Munsters when I met him the first time. It was the Munsters connector when I met him the second time. And so these things just keep, they're just as they should be. That was after Thousand Corpses, which I enjoyed very much. I think it's just a really great movie. He was really a real great filmmaker. And that was evident, very right out of the gate that the guy knew how to do tone and scares right out of the gate and make a creepy environment. So when he asked if I'd do something in the next movie, I jumped at the chance. That was the first time we did more screen in Devil's Rejects. So it's me and an actor named Dwayne Whitaker were on the TV in the hotel before all hell breaks loose in that hotel. People, if they enjoy it, and I invite them, they should go pull out their discs, because we did a special feature. We actually shot about a 25-minute TV show. Rob scripted a lot of it, and then he let me ad lib a lot of it. So there's a lot of really weird stuff in there where I'm interviewing Dwayne and trying. And Dwayne's an actor I've known since we met on General Hospital in 1984 as extras, but we've worked together a lot. Rob was like, try to annoy him as much as you. So, I'm like watching Dwayne and I'm like commenting on every other thing he says. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. So we established more screen there, the Rugsville talk show host. And then what's been fun is then he put more screen in. I'm animated me in the end of El Super Bisto. And then in Free from Hell, more screen is back, but he's been kind of upgraded at the studio. Now he's the reporter trying to get information. The great thing is that Rob puts me in all of his movies, but then sometimes he cuts me out of his movie. As a writer director myself, that never offends me because I know you got a finite amount of time and you got to stay on story. I'm not offended that he cuts me out of his own movies, but he did make a deal with my father of an undisclosed sum of money to cut me out of our home movies, which I thought was a little much. I was a second child. It was a boy, me, a boy, a girl, and a little boy. So he was the firstborn, and then the camera would go, and then they'd be like, "Here's the girl." And here's the little boy, and they'd be on him, and then back to the girl, and then there'd be the and then back on the oldest boy. And then if you slowed it down, you see me going, I want to be on the movie.
You're in your monster costume.
Yeah, maybe that's why. I was thinking that I also was a ventriloquist before I was a clown. And my mom would go, come on, we got to go to the store. And I'd say, let me go get my ventriloquist doll. And, like I'd be walking
Oh.
around, the Sears with Danny O'Day. People must just thought, oh, God bless her. Look, she takes that poor handicapped boy around carrying a doll at 6 years old. Creepy. Like, it's one thing to have a doll if it's a doll of Superman. But
But
a
like a
ventriloquist doll.
ventriloquist dummy is terrifying.
No, yeah, it's a doll of a little man in a suit with a tie. It's ridiculous. The whole idea of it's ridiculous.
It's so, but like, so how did you get into horror movies as a kid then? Like,
Well, I
like,
think
how
it
did that
was
come from?
I was obsessed with TV when I was a little boy,
Okay.
6 years old. I said, when I'm on TV. So then I was like, I'd always watch TV to figure out, how am I going to get there? I know I'm going to be there, but what's it going to be? So we had Dr. Shock was our horror host. Luckily every area had their own horror host. You were an age like mine, and you got to watch that guy show the movies on Saturday. So I was taken by him. He was on TV right about that time, 1970. Would have been 6 or 7. Loved how they looked. And I loved the moment I figured out that, wait a minute, hold on. Frankenstein. Okay, now he's like Dr. Niemans. That's the same guy. That's the same guy. Oh, he's Dracula. Wait a minute. Now he's Igor. He's wearing makeup. It's the same guy. He's the same guy. That's probably what got me into it. Because, there's a point where it's fun to think of what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what an actor is till then one day you have an epiphany. Oh, that's an actor playing a part. Because before then, you don't know what you're really seeing, do you?
No, yeah. When I was younger, I thought actors died in Roman movies. I didn't have any concept of what
Yeah.
acting was when I was little. Yeah.
We were blessed, though, I'll tell you, because you would see not just those movies, TV at that time, everything was in that we had bumped into us rerun. So you'd watch the Munsters, you'd watch F Troop, you'd watch Get Smart. But you would see Don Rickles on the Munsters, on Get Smart, on F Troop, and you'd see Harvey Korman, and you'd see Frank Borchardt, and Vincent Price was in the movies, but then he was Egghead, and then he was on the Danny Kaye special, singing and dancing, and you started seeing like what actors really do. And that's the thing I've always said. I've never had any. Every now and again, someone will say, "I remember you said you were going to be a movie star," and I say, I never said it. I never said it. I went to be an actor. I didn't really care as long as I could do this, as God gave me a gift to do this. So this is what I do.
So you've talked a lot about like loving to do makeup as a kid, and you got to wear some pretty cool makeup from the photo that we saw on Rob Zombie's Instagram. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about like the makeup and the prosthetic process, and like, was it so cool to like get to wear this crazy makeup again and like get to dress up for work? And what was that process like?
It's always good to dress up for work. As we're making this movie, the experience is going to be excellent. Can't talk about that experience. I can tell you, I've worn a lot of makeup over the years. I played Jay Leno in a movie. I played Gary Marshall in a movie. Rob himself hired me to be the devil. And he calls up, he's like, "You want to be the devil?" And I'm like, because I know he's torturing me because, I believe in the devil and I hate him. And so I said, "Could I kill him like Paul Lamb?" And he said, "Oh, absolutely." So that's why the devil's talking like he's on the devil. But they did this like 5-hour makeup on me where I look crazy. Did you ever see that? The Life and Times of a Teenage Rock God?
I did not know.
Oh, check that out. It's a Rob Zombie video. For a guy who grew up loving makeup and wanting to maybe even be a makeup artist, because whatever, I really have believed that there was a point where I was going to be on TV as a kid. And then there's a point where you're 19 or 18 and you think, am I really going to be on TV? Maybe I'm just drawn to this. So I thought, man, maybe I'll be a makeup. And even when I got to LA, I went and looked at one of the makeup schools going there. I'm a makeup man. Things worked out differently, God. But Some actors won't. They hate makeup. I love it. I'll sit there for as many hours as it takes, and I'll just love it. And it really is part of the transformative art, the costume too. But boy, man, when they put someone else's face on you, you really are someone else.
Did you
Uh,
feel like Grandpa Munster when they put that face on you? Like, did you feel like him?
in playing Grandpa, I certainly did not feel like me. And when we're shooting, I don't feel.
Are there any fun anecdotes you can share from set or with Rob Zombie? Just like little tidbits?
Rob Zombie is Willy Wonka. I'm just one of the Oompa Loompas, although I'm a little taller than most Oompa Loompas. He gets to be the one to tell you the secrets of how the candy. All I can say is I'm an Oompa Loompa. I will tell you that one of my favorite times on the set wasn't the before this one was on 31,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Wayne Toth did this very great makeup. I was in makeup for hours. You can't really see it. Do you watch Rob's movies? I
Yeah.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
Rumor 31. I'm Pastor Victor, like
Yeah.
taken away early on, and but I've been welted. I'm wearing, my nose is broken, my eyes, fake blood everywhere. And then they bring me, oh, we're ready for you, Dan. And, I knew Richard Brake from, we had done a series together and I was a fan of his. So I did not know what was coming. I did not know how intense and weird that was going to be. They strapped me to a chair, tie me to a chair, and I've got, the sides are in my pocket, and Rob goes, okay, let's get the water dripping. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, we're dripping water. You're dripping water on me now. And then oh, the water starts hitting me, and then the blood goes from my forehead into my eye, and then this blood into this eye, and then this blood into my mouth. And I'm sitting there, and he's like, are you ready? And I'm like, can I just say one thing? Just one thing. Can I just say something? He goes, sure. I go, other people let me star in. Don't just show me. All right, let's shoot. And then Richard came out and did that monologue without blinking his eyes. Obviously, they shot him, then they shot me, then they shot us. But I spent a lot of time thinking, what the hell's the matter with this guy? And then I was thinking, he never showed me that axe was made of rubber. It never showed. Like I'm watching, thinking, is that actually, does it look like a rubber axe? Sometimes they look a little different. Sometimes they look exactly like a real axe. It better be a rubber axe. I want to see that axe. We can't you can't joke about it because obviously there's something last week went terribly awry and a
Yes.
person way. But whenever they're doing that stuff, there's so much protocols in place
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you are psychologically, you the actor that maybe is the gun pointed at or the actor going to be whacked at. And I'm making this joke. I'm sure they should be able to remember acts. So I don't want to imply that somebody didn't do a job on that. But sometimes when we went to do Free from Hell, they were moving so fast because the thing that's really miraculous about Rob is the movies are so layered.
Mm-hmm.
And I make movies, and my movies
Yeah.
aren't layered. They're my movies are like a movie. Here's a movie. His movies are like a postage stamp stuck onto a poster, tied with a bow, and then like it's so much going on. And my movies are like, here's a scene, here's another scene. Oh, here's a flashback. Ooh. And his movie's like it's like being karate chopped at a movie theater. But when you're shooting it, it was like they bring Jeff Daniel Phillips, my buddy who's playing Herman, and they bring him out and me out, and I like ask him 8 questions, and then Rob's like, okay, let's one more. I ask him 8 questions. But okay, let's get a picture. And then I turn around to get another. Rob's gone, Jeff is gone. I'm like, well, maybe I'll take another picture. Look like it. And they walk, it says like, Johnson Correctional Facility. 2 guys picked up that, what I thought was a brick wall. I was like, where did everybody go? I think I was done before lunch, Then you feel like a schnorr, are you staying for lunch? then they just think, guy's just trying to beat us out of a meal.
So I'm like curious. You've talked about your relationship with Rob Zombie, but like how has your relationship with him evolved since you've been in so many movies with him, and now you have an even bigger role in the
Well, I
Munsters?
mean, I think what's been really good for both of us is I didn't have to learn what a good director he was, and I don't think he had to learn what a good actor I am. The thing about Rob and Cherry is they watch a lot of not they don't they're not watching Scooby Doo movies. They're watching Claudette Colbert and they're watching Betty. He's the real deal when it comes to someone who you could kind of talk cinema with. Unfortunately, I don't have the music. I like music, but I don't have an ability to talk about how it's created. And I don't really know who the main people are. It's like any natural friendship evolves. You find this level of trust with two people. But again, I can't speak for him, but I can speak for me. I do appreciate him very much. People should know nobody works harder than him and Sherry. Nobody works harder than Sherry. She's amazing. Jeff is great, but Rob is like a dervish. It never stops. There's something that you don't know unless you're really a director. You never sit down under any circumstances. And when you're like, okay, I'm not in this scene, and I got to go fix that thing. They're they're doing that up, or that's not right, or oh, that's good. Let me tell them it's good because I want them to do that again. So you never you spring back. He works hard.
Yeah,
He
he
works.
really does. He creates so much. It's really quite impressive what he's able to
Yes, and I mean
create.
he's creating all the time. So you're on the set on any of these movies, and he's directing you, but simultaneously, I know that he's like figuring out where the next tour somebody's telling him he's going to Tangiers to do a show, or and then he's got to write this or do that. And the art he imposes his vision. It's no different than Tim Burton does. The thing about Rob's kind of overlay of his personal vision on things, his stuff makes it seem more real and Americana some way.
Hmm.
And Tim Burton's thing makes it look like it's on a cake and surreal and not of this place. Uh,
Yeah.
to me, I mean, I like Tim Burton. I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's a different aesthetic. And Rob's aesthetic, that's not really aesthetic. His aesthetic is a really deep over and a deep dive into best of it and the worst. He's done it up to this point through the lens of a horror movie. Zombie could make any, he could make a musical if he wanted to. He could make a love story if he wanted to. He should be given the chance to do that and will be given a chance to do it. I have every confidence that Munsters will prove he's the real deal.
And I actually have one last question for you. It's pretty broad, but you really have had an incredible career, like a massive career. You've been in so much stuff, but you're in a lot of horror as well. And you've talked about your love of horror as a kid, but I'm curious as an actor, like what draws you to continue working in the genre space?
I think primarily it's because the people who make these movies seek me out. And I hope that I'm the guy they could count on. Like Don Coscarelli, I worked for him a few times. In John Dies at the End, I come in and for like 9 pages, I wear a mask and I talk in a funny voice. I explain what the hell the movie's about. So, he knew that like I'm gonna put him in a mask and he's gonna do a funny voice, but he's gonna be the guy I know will be able to connect these dots the way they need to be connected. And that's a real blessing to be in that position as an actor. But I really enjoy the genre, yet it's never occurred to me to make a horror movie myself. I'm really good with comedy. I'm good with people. I don't know that I'd be up to the task of scaring people, and I don't know that I could, write a movie where people, and I, if you don't mind me saying this, I invite them if they want to know, part of me, the part that I am beside all this, because I love all this. But they should look at a channel of peace.org, a channel of peace.org. I'm making family movies with an element of faith. See, people feel like you're a character in a Rob Zombie movie. When you go to some of these Christian films, you're bludgeoned with a point of view. I'm making entertainments that have a point of view, but it's a movie that anybody could go in, even if you were. And the first one we made, Getting Grace, I can tell you, I traveled with that movie around the world. All came to that movie. And I could tell some were Mormons from the way they were dressed. I could tell some were Muslims from the way they were dressed. I could tell some were Catholics from what they said, and others were Protestants, and others were Jews. And they all got out of it understanding that it was a faith journey, as nothing was imposed. In my age, in my life, with my credits, I just want to make the world a little and bring people closer. Maybe the horror movies are good for bringing like the guy and the girl he wants to make out with later closer. They're grabbing onto it, but they may not have that effect fully on the world. And I'm trying to have a more global effect, reminding people there's a higher. So I like to talk to people like you so that I can tell people, because I can promise you there's enough people who love Dread Central who will also go and waiting for something like that. Every movie that comes out of Hollywood now is a point of view. It's shoved at you, and it's so obvious. But you're not going to get that from Rob Zombie. He's going to entertain you because he's an entertainer. You know, that's all he does. I entertain you. He doesn't have to. It has to make no political commentary. That's the other side of me. So isn't it fun to be a multifaceted actor and have opportunities? So I do horror movies because that's different, and I reach other people, and I do Disney Channel movies. And Disney Channel stuff, like you would have probably seen if you watch Quince or Sunny with a Chance. I'm looking at you, guessing your age, because all my Matlock people are almost dead. So I gotta build my audience. That's why I'm an actor forever. I keep finding something, and I go to auditions now. People go, "Oh my God, when I was a kid, I loved you in Sunny with a Chance," and I'm just like, "Oh, well, then I guess I have to read it. It'll just be an offer situation." Oh, yeah.
It sounds really fun. It sounds like you get to do so much really awesome stuff, and that's really incredible. And that's why I love chatting with people in the industry. It's just really cool to hear the passion that you all have for all of the work you do, and in the genre, outside of the genre. It's just really incredible. And I grew up watching you too, so when I got the email, I was a little starstruck and excited to chat with you. So yeah.
Do you know? I made one of those movies, just by the way. My daughter's almost 26, Gracie. And I wrote and directed one of the movies with her that we did called Lucky Louie. My daughter also, we've written together before, and we wrote a pilot that's a bit ribald. That was a little, that took a lot out of Dad to like write a certain kind of joke with my daughter, and then I'd have to go pound my head on a wall and go, just a writer. She's just a writer. She's just a writer. Don't ask her how she knows about this stuff. Don't ask her. Just another writer in the room. Doesn't matter what she's done and how she knows this. How this stuff comes out of her mouth. That's the other thing about you get a gift from God, you utilize it without a rule book. Horror movie, comedy movie, drama movie, faith-based movie. Doesn't matter. I'm just doing his work.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and with Dread
Fantastic.
Central about your work, about Rob Zombie, about the Munsters, and it's just we're all so excited to see you as Grandpa Munster whenever the film hits big screens. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I'm a fan of Dread Central. I go to it often, so that's kind of a nice full circle thing too.
That is so cool. I'd love to hear it.